Hi, everyone. Happy Tuesday. Welcome to our weekly live immigration attorney chat here at Immigration for Couples. I'm attorney Megan Pastrana, and I look forward to being with all of you here today and answering your questions live. Before we dive in, I'd like to let you know about our free resource center. So, my team and I created this free resource center at our website. It's on immigrationforcouples.com, and I will post the link in the comments after the show as well. And the free resource center is a really great place to start, whether you're just starting out in your immigration journey, or you're in the middle of that process. But if you're just starting out, I really encourage you to check out this free resource center. I created a webinar where I talk about the different options that are available to couples. I really go into a lot of detail. I talk about the process, how to prove your relationship, and how to not just survive the immigration process, but really thrive. So please be sure to check that out. And for those of you who join here on a weekly basis, you've been joining for a long time. I see you already know the drill. Please let me know, where are you at in the world? If you're watching this on the replay, that's fantastic. Please do a hashtag replay and let me know, where are you at in the world, and where are you at in your immigration journey? Are you just starting out? Are you in the middle? Or have you actually already finished, your process? We have some people who are here for moral support. For everyone else, that they've actually made it through the process. So where are you at in this journey? And I am streaming live today here on Facebook, LinkedIn, YouTube, and Instagram. So I have questions that are coming into my queue. So if you're asking me questions, I will answer them in the order that I receive them. I just ask that you please ask just one time. I will get to it in that order that they are received. All right. So let's see. I'd like to start where everybody is at. Good evening, good morning, wherever you are in the world. So you're in Somalia. That's awesome. We're great to have you with us. All right. Andrew watching from the UK. Great to have you. Lisa in Chile, Florida. Indeed, it is. Surprisingly, there's sun, but it's chilly. Ethiopia, great to have you with us. Portugal, great to have you back, Kathleen. I know you've joined before. You're from the Philippines, Sri Lanka. This is awesome. We have people literally from all over the world. This is great. Okay. So let's start with the first question that I have here in the queue. So your husband came from the US. Okay, so let's see if I can understand your question. So your husband came from the US. Okay, so you got married recently and you're pregnant. Congratulations. That's awesome. You've had a lot of really great changes here then in the recent months. So that's fantastic. So you're wanting to know if the presidency, goodness, the pregnancy. I was talking with someone about the changes in immigration, and so I had that on my mind, and that's what came out. So will the pregnancy be a positive thing? I was trying to see if you had a second part to your question. So the pregnancy is definitely a positive thing. So congratulations, that's super exciting. We do receive that question a lot, and I receive that question a lot. Hey, how is a pregnancy going to impact our spouse visa process or fiance visa process? And so it's great evidence that you have a bona fide relationship based on love. And you created this human being together. What more can you use to prove your love? So it's definitely positive all around. Will it add, some additional steps in your immigration journey? Yes. Typically, a U.S. citizen who has a child abroad would need to go through a process to register the child's birth and U.S. citizenship. But that's great. So congratulations. All right. Okay, so you're wanting to know about basically having a legally binding marriage. What kind of marriage, or what marriage would be recognized for immigration purposes? So each country in the world, every state in the United States, they have a different process or procedure that you have to go through to ensure that you have a legally binding marriage. immigration will recognize your marriage from anywhere in the world so long as it's legally binding where the marriage occurred. The National Visa Center has something called a reciprocity table. So you can check that out to determine whether or not this will be a legally binding marriage that immigration will recognize. That's a really good place to start. And then also understanding that the National Visa Center reciprocity table is really a compilation of the policies and laws of governments across the world. And so sometimes it has flaws. So you also have to do the footwork or the groundwork and making sure you're doing research in that particular country and making sure it's legally binding there and in compliance. So it's really, two parts that you're making sure, first and foremost, that the marriage is legally binding and will be considered by immigration. So you can start at that reciprocity table, and then also, checking with local government wherever that marriage will occur to ensure you're following the proper policies, procedures, protocol. Some countries have a lot of evidence that you're required to provide to go through that marriage process. So it really will depend on where you're getting married. And something that I always like to let individuals know about too, something to consider is the Utah virtual marriage. So there are some places in the world where, for various reasons, you might not be able to get married, or it's such a labyrinth and will take so long that maybe looking at a Utah virtual marriage is something to consider. The virtual marriage has its own unique requirements, and then immigration would have its own unique requirements for that. So you want to make sure you're doing that properly, but that's something to look at as well. And I did do a podcast. If you check out the resource center that I have below, Immigration for Couples, going to our website, you'll see the podcast that I did with Reverend Heron, and we talk about the virtual marriage there. All right. So the next question I have in the queue is regarding NVC processing times for the fiance visa. So the fiance visa process, one of the steps in the process is with the National Visa Center. And the National Visa Center, their role for the fiance visa is really just sending that file to the U.S. Embassy or consulate and assigning the case a case number. That's all the National Visa Center does in the context of a fiance visa. And it is taking a solid 60 days right now. They were doing a really great job, and it was happening in 30 days, sometimes less. And then they just started to really slow down over the recent month and a half, where it's taking about a solid 60 days. And we always reach out to them and say, hey, where are you at with transferring our client's case? And, they've been letting us know it's taking a solid 60 days. Sometimes that has to do with the U.S. Embassy or consulate as well, that they're telling the National Visa Center they're not ready to take cases. There's a lot of different factors that go into that process. But I would say on average, we're seeing a solid 60 days. Okay. So Damien, you are saying that you had a DUI in 2023 and that you did a court program and the charges were dropped. And that you don't have a money for an attorney, but an experienced immigration preparer. I'm trying to see if you had a different part to your question, because it only has a certain amount of space for the question. And so it looks like it got cut off, but I'm understanding from your question that basically you're asking, is this criminal history an issue? And is it okay to have, and I'm not sure what you mean by an experienced immigration preparer. So your question's really two parts. I can't conclusively say whether it will or won't be an issue, because while you might have this DUI and the charges were dropped, it's not clear if they were dismissed after like a diversion program, because that would still be considered a charge and a conviction in the world of immigration. The analysis that has to go into prior criminal incidents to determine whether or not someone is eligible is very extensive. And so there's no way for me, without seeing the records and understanding what case type and your immigration history and background, what kind of issues that this will cause for your case. And when you're talking about having an experienced immigration preparer, it's really important to understand there's a lot of agencies out there that purport to be a low cost option that you don't have to hire an immigration attorney. And the thing that is very concerning about that is that if you are hiring an agency that they are not licensed immigration attorneys, that's extremely risky because they aren't formally instructed, they were not formally trained, they're not licensed, and they that's the unauthorized practice of law. Legally, they're not supposed to represent you or assist you with your case. So what I would recommend is if you don't have the fees to hire an immigration attorney, that you look at local not-for-profit organizations, because not-for-profit organizations will not just be document preparers, because you don't need someone to fill out forms, right? That's not what an immigration attorney or an or attorney does. That's part of it. It's a really tiny part, filling out the forms. But what's most important is understanding the law, understanding the impact of your prior criminal history on your ability to receive a green card or citizenship. I'm not sure what kind of case you're doing. So I really encourage you to look at a local not-for-profit organization that actually has licensed attorneys who can do that legal analysis and assist you if funds and finances are an issue, because we definitely don't want that to be a barrier for you to receive representation. So be sure that who you have helping you is a licensed immigration attorney, okay? And you can do that through a not-for-profit. Best of luck. Best of luck to you on your case. All right. Okay, so Gerald, you're getting married next month. Congratulations, that's super exciting. And then you're going to go through the spouse visa process to receive the green card. And then your future spouse has a 19-year-old daughter that will move after college in 4 years. So the requirements to be able to petition for stepchildren are that you are a U.S. citizen and that your marriage occurred before the child turned 18. Once if that marriage is happening, after she is 18 years old, then your future spouse would eventually, be able to petition for her child. It's important to understand that's a separate process that happens later in the future. And once children turn 21, you can petition for your adult children. And it's important to understand that there's a very long wait to be able to bring children who are over 21. And we're talking about many year wait, but there are possibilities. For a situation like this, I don't have, all of the details about timeline and your background and everything about your relationship. So this is something that I'd be happy to speak with you about during a consultation, and we can talk about what is the best option. Something before getting married, I really encourage you, if you haven't spoken with an immigration attorney, you speak with an immigration attorney before marriage, because there are ways through the fiance visa that the daughter could actually come, but that's always hard when you have university and someone studying. So it's really first and foremost educating yourself, understanding what these different paths look like, understanding wait times in the future if you are to wait. And then for all of you as a family to have a conversation about what makes the most sense. And so we help families all the time, especially when there's a child, an adult child close to the age of 21, to navigate and understand that situation and choose the best path forward. So it would be a completely separate process in the future, but once you get married, there are going to be less options for her daughter. So. All right. But I'd be happy to speak with you in a consultation. The phone number is below if you're wanting to schedule, or you can also book from the website. But congratulations on your marriage. Oh, and you're going to do the spouse visa and you're in Tennessee. Awesome. But yeah, I'd be happy to speak with you further in private if you're wanting more details about that. But I just wanted to let you know that once you get married, there will be less options. Okay. Okay, so Sarah, you're wanting advice for the fiance visa interview regarding income. So you have an annual income of 40K. Your tax returns show 22 for 2023 because you started the job in the middle of the year. That makes sense. And what should you list on the financial forms? So the income requirement is going to depend on your household size. And I've made a lot of videos about this because the affidavit of support is always a complex beast. It results in a lot of questions, and there's a lot of things to navigate. So with the affidavit of support requirement, immigration is going to look at your household size. So your household size is determined from your tax returns typically. So if you have dependent children in your taxes, or if you have any adults who are dependent on you, and they live with you and you care for them and they are listed as dependents on your tax return, then that would be included in your household size. Then immigration takes your household size and compares it to something called the I-864P poverty guideline to determine whether or not you're eligible as a sole sponsor. Immigration considers your current annual income to be that total income line on your taxes. So it's really important to know that, if you're receiving a W-2 income, there might be one amount on there, but your total income might be reported lower, or it might be more. Maybe you have a side hustle and things like that. So immigration is going to look at that total income line. So that amount that you have to make is going to be, again, dependent on your household size, comparing that to the poverty guidelines. And then that total income line is what immigration is going to be looking for. If you don't make enough, then you can use assets. So assets are things like 12 months of your bank account or your retirement account, or maybe you own a home and the equity in that home. So I know that that's a that's a complex part of the process, but hopefully that makes sense, and you you can take a look at that I-864P poverty guideline, and then go from there. And again, like I've said here to others, I'm always happy to meet with you in private in a consultation if you're needing more assistance and guidance. And you can also check out the resource center, immigrationforcouples.com, and you'll find I have a bunch of videos talking in even more detail about that affidavit of support. All right. Thanks for the question, Sarah. And I'm going to check on Instagram here and see if I have anybody. That's the only one that doesn't seem to pull in the questions and into my question queue. All right. So Clara has a question here. And if you would all let me know, is this information helpful? Are you benefiting from all of this today? If you give me a thumbs up or a heart, that's helpful. And if you know anybody that's going through the immigration process, please feel free to let them know about these weekly live events in the resource center. So if they have questions, they can ask live too. So Claire, it's great to have you back with us. You're wanting to know what are the chances of getting married in the U.S. Or somewhere else, and then leaving the U.S. and then again coming again on ESTA. So basically, and I hope you're doing well too. Basically, your question is, is it possible to come on ESTA and get married and then leave? And so it's the really important clarification that I want to make, because there's a lot of confusion around this, is that there's rumors out there that you can't come on ESTA or tourist visa to get married. What you can't do is you can't come on ESTA or a tourist visa with the intention of marrying and staying and living in the United States. Immigration does not allow that. But if you are wanting to come, if you're coming on a visit and you're just wanting to get married and then leave and go back home and begin the spouse visa process, that is possible. It's important, though, to understand that every time you enter the United States on ESTA or a tourist visa, an immigration officer is going to review your circumstances of your entry and your prior entries and determine whether or not they believe you're coming just for that short visit. So it's important to understand, they have that discretion. They could decide to tell you no and turn you away. But we have had clients who've been able to, come. We help them, we assist them, we guide them on that process to be able to come and get married and then leave, and we begin the spouse visa process. And basically, I'm understanding your other part of your question is, after you start that process, can you still travel? And yes, it is. It's possible to still travel on that ESTA or tourist visa after the application is filed. Again, understanding that every single entry is going to be reviewed, and immigration is going to decide whether or not they believe you're just coming for a visit. And when you have that pending application, when you have that pending spouse or fiance visa application, sometimes that gives them pause and will prompt them to ask you more questions about why you're coming for that visit. But it is legally possible. Hey, Ginger, it's great to have you back with us. You're watching from the UK. I know you're not with your boyfriend anymore. I know you'd let us know on that last live that that was going to be your coming into your final days together. So I hope you get through the immigration process soon, and it's lovely to have you with us again here this week. And I hope you had a wonderful time together. Okay. So, Benjamin, you said you're waiting to schedule your K1 visa interview in China, and the dates still haven't opened. She's planning on coming in May. Will there be any concerns entering the US with the K1 at that time? So, definitely keep checking. I know that's can be really frustrating part of the fiance visa process when you have this ability to take the next steps, but interviews aren't available, and then you're having to check, multiple times a day, every day. We do that for our clients until an interview becomes available. So, good luck. I hope you get an interview soon. In terms of, whether there will be issues, if you're concerned with that, the petition expiring, it's important to reach out to the embassy and extend that petition, request an extension. And you can ask for that extension at the interview too. Um, I don't know the specifics of your case, so I can't say, conclusively if there's any concerns with entering in May. Again, I'm happy to speak with you in private on Zoom or by phone if you want to talk about the case in more detail. But I will say, I hope you get an interview soon. Keep checking, and there is that ability to ask for an extension of that petition approval. So good luck. Okay. So you're wanting to know about taxes and whether or not, if you owe taxes to the IRS, if that can impact the process. Yes, it can. It's really important to make sure you're paying those taxes. If you have a payment plan set up and you're making payments with the payment plan with the IRS, that's a really great first start. And you should strive to be at least at that point of having that payment plan set up and making those payments on a regular basis to the IRS. Okay. Who do I have next here? Oh, and then Corwin, you said is setting up a payment plan with the IRS and filing the tax returns sufficient. Yes, you need to file your tax returns. That's super important. That is a step in the process, whether you're doing the fiance or spouse visa, that they're going to want to see your tax returns. So yes, getting those taxes filed, getting that payment plan set up. You wouldn't necessarily need to have it paid in full, but you'll have to work with the IRS on at least getting that payment plan set up. And you're watching from Columbus. You're very welcome. All right. Okay. So Skylar, you're wanting to relocate to the United States and that you're currently living in Canada. And he's lived up there in Canada for 13 years. And you have a child together. So that's great. And so you're wanting to make a big move. Um, Typically, the fiance visa path has been a faster path for our clients currently. Historically, the fiance visa, the reasons that it was created and its process, it's always historically been faster. COVID kind of threw a wrench in the works, but we are starting to see that the fiance visa process, the wait times are decreasing, and generally speaking, we have found that the fiance visa is faster. But it's also important to understand that while it might be faster, it might not be the most convenient, for both of you, because the fiance visa has a period of time where, you're not able to work and not able to travel internationally. And so it's really a balance of speed and what works best for your goals in your life. I would really encourage you to check out the free resource center. I have that listed below at immigrationforcouples.com. And I have that webinar and I talk about the different options that are available to couples and really the pros and cons of both, so you can get more clarity on what path would be better. Yeah, that's a good question. Wanting to know if the I-130 petitions that have been filed anytime now or prior, if there are changes in public charge, if those cases will be affected. So to give everybody context, for those of you who might not be sure exactly what this question is asking, or what Andrew is asking, is that during the prior Trump administration, one of the big changes we saw were added requirements. So they added a whole nother form to the process. It was very invasive, and they were requiring much more financial information, credit report, proof of health insurance, proof of medical history, English literacy. There was so much that was in that prior form. And so, Andrew, I'm understanding your concern is, hey, we've already filed our process. If we see those changes again, are we going to be impacted if we've already filed our case? And so typically when immigration policies are implemented, changes are implemented, they usually have like a grandfathering of applications that were filed prior to that date. Uh, I can't say, I don't have a crystal ball either, but I will say typically, historically, that's what we see. If applications are already filed, those applications that were filed before the change will only be required to follow the policy in effect at that time. Previously, though, under the Trump administration, this was a blanket change that impacted all applications. So it can go either way. They could do a grandfather clause, and anyone that filed prior wouldn't be impacted. But they do have the ability to really change that process, add forms and add requirements, and it would impact everyone. So we will have to wait and see, but hopefully not. But it's very likely that that's going to happen. Okay. So Kathleen, you're wanting to know the best way to submit information for the I-134. So if you are doing a fiance visa process, the only way is typically that the U.S. Embassy or consulate, depending on where you're processing, they will either have you send everything, all of the documents by courier before the interview, or you take them in person. It depends on the embassy or consulate. And so you're going to take all of the required financial documents, depending on whether you're needing, employment income or assets, depending on, the specifics of the case. So the best way to submit it is the way that the embassy requires it, either by courier or by paper when you're going in person, and you'll have those documents with you for them to review. I think that's what you're asking. So hopefully that helps answer your question. Oh, Clarissa, you're asking about the mandamus action, and you're wanting to know, really, basically, I'm understanding your question is, what are we seeing with mandamus actions for pending, for cases that are pending? So for those of you who don't know what a mandamus action is, if your immigration case has been pending for a prolonged period of time, typically over a year for adjustment cases, you can file a mandamus action really in any immigration case. And basically the mandamus action is a lawsuit. You're suing the government for unreasonable delay. That's the simplest terms that I can, explain that mandamus action. So USCIS, they are getting sued, and immigration is being sued a lot because there are just unreasonable delays all over the board. And a mandamus action is a tool that my firm uses in some cases. And it's very important to understand that a mandamus action is to compel the government to get the government to do their job and to make a decision on your case. It doesn't necessarily mean that they are going to approve your case. It means they're going to make a decision. Because immigration is being sued so much, we are starting to see them fighting back more and more on the mandamus action cases. It really depends, though, on the specifics of your case. So we are, Clarissa, it really just depends on the type of mandamus action. We are seeing that immigration is wanting to push back and to fight back, and that they are trying tactics like getting into the weeds of things like whether or not venue is appropriate, and wanting to send cases and transfer cases to a different venue. And it's really a lot of stalling and delay tactics, unfortunately. We have had success, though, with mandamus actions as well. The goal of filing the mandamus action is, you file it, and then the government wants to, what they call, moot the case, that they want to just make a decision on your case so they can, moot out that litigation and close it out. But we are seeing in some cases they're wanting to fight back. So mandamus actions are a great arrow in our quiver. but it's really important to understand it is litigation, and litigation can have a mind of its own like immigration and can really go a lot of different directions. So, if any of you are considering that, that's definitely something, you should talk with an immigration attorney about and understand whether or not that's viable, and the possible outcomes that that mandamus action can have. In a best case scenario, they approve your case. In a worst case scenario, they want to fight the litigation and it becomes an argument, which is really crazy and illogical, but such as immigration, an argument about whether or not the delay is reasonable or unreasonable. And it could result, if the judge agrees with immigration, it could result in a dismissal of that mandamus action. But it's still a very important tool. It's a very important thing to be aware of as a possibility. All right. It's great to have you with us. I'm glad you were able to join us. I have someone here from Togo. Great. Someone else from Canada. We have a lot of folks watching from Canada. That's awesome. Checking here on everyone on Instagram here. I'm just looking to see on Instagram. Okay. So I have someone that's asking that her fiance has raised her niece for 14 years as a single mom. She wants to bring her to the USA as her daughter. Can we adopt her and bring her, or can her birth mother prevent it, even though she was abandoned? So this is going to be an overlap of not just immigration law, but international adoption if you're wanting to relocate to the US, and also the laws, family laws of that country. So first and foremost, you'll want to speak with a family attorney in the country in the country where the child is living. And then you should also look for an international adoption attorney. Those you're likely going to need 2 attorneys to assist you with that process. So there's no way for me to conclusively say, because that's a really complex situation, but that would be your best place to start to get assistance. All right. I'm just looking to see who's next. It looks like Jose is next. Oh, Jose, I really hope you do too. I know you've been keeping us updated that you've been waiting on your petition. Sending you prayers and positive vibes for a decision soon. Good luck to you. I hope that it comes through soon. I know those wait times have gotten longer, and it is hard, but you're getting closer with every day. Hopefully you'll get that decision soon. Hannah, great to have you with us. You came on your fiance visa. That's great. Congratulations. And you've applied for your adjustment and work permit. That's fantastic that you got your work permit in 40 days. We've definitely been seeing more individuals getting the work permit faster, but those wait times are fluid and can definitely vary. How long it takes for the green card to be approved, on average, it's a solid 12 months. Understanding that adjustment of status is adjudicated or decided in the state where you're living. So wait times really vary across the country, depending on your jurisdiction, depending on where you're living. We've had people who've gotten a decision in as little as 3 months, and others where it takes, a year or more. So, but sounds like things are moving along for you though. That's great. All right. I am at time here. I'm going to try to do one more question. Let's see. This is a long question. So your future wife, you're getting married in a non-resident marriage in St. Lucia. That sounds like a beautiful destination in January. Because you're not wanting to do the fiance visa, you're wanting to do the spouse visa. You have an age difference, which is, yes, you're right. That is a red flag in the world of immigration. You've been communicating since 2021, and she was refused a tourist visa twice. The trip for me to the Philippines would be difficult for me, so we decided to meet in St. Lucia. And since we went that far, decided to get married. I think we have a better chance at the spouse visa. And it looks like your question got cut off because it is because it is so long. So the decision for the spouse or the fiance visa it's always a difficult fork in the road for couples to try to choose which direction to go, and it's really ultimately going to decide on your goals as a couple. Some of the big reasons that individuals are choosing the fiance visa over the spouse visa is speed. The fiance visa is much faster than the spouse visa right now. Those spouse visa wait times are continuing to really increase. And we've seen the fiance visa wait times go down. So a lot of couples are choosing that fiance visa for the speed and because they want to be together as soon as possible. While others will choose the spouse visa because they are wanting to make sure that the immigrant beneficiary can enter the United States and with the ability to work immediately and really be integrated into life fully. Because the fiance visa has a waiting period before you can work and before you can travel internationally. So those are some of the main reasons that the couples will choose one over the other. I can't read the rest of your question on this platform just because it is so long. I think maybe you're asking if I've had success with these particular red flags. Yes, my team and I have had a lot of success with helping couples navigate these red flags, mitigate these red flags, and that's because we really get to know you as a couple. We really are going to delve into your relationship history, and we will determine what is the best evidence to present, the best way to present it, making sure we're dotting I's and crossing T's, and then also practicing proaction. So we're looking ahead at the next steps in the process and how we can be ready and to help you prepare for the interview and all of that. So yes, those are red flags. Yes, those are things that immigration is going to look at. If you are wanting to, if you have not spoken with an immigration attorney, or if you're wanting more personalized advice, I'd be happy to speak with you both in private during a Zoom consultation, and we can talk about the two different paths and your relationship history in more detail. And once I learn more about both of you, I can give you my customized advice on what I see is really the best path. The spouse visa is a perfectly great option. And if you already have travel plans and you already have that in ready to go, everything all lined up, so it's a great option. But I really encourage couples to speak with an immigration attorney before getting married, because I have had so many couples that will meet with me after marriage, and there's still an option and there's still a path, but they'll say, "Oh, I wish I would have known X, Y, and Z right before getting married," because once you do, then that fiance visa obviously goes away as an option. So again, I'd be happy to speak with you in private, and we can really dive into your particular situation, and I can give you customized legal advice. But congratulations, St. Lucia sounds like a very beautiful place to have a wedding, and congratulations on your engagement. That's really exciting. All right, everyone. You're welcome, Ginger. It was good to see you again. All right. It was really great to be with all of you. There's always so many questions, and we got through a lot here today. So I hope that this was helpful. Please let me know if it was helpful by giving a thumbs up. If you're watching this on the replay, again, please do a hashtag replay. Let us know where you're at in the world and what questions do you have about immigration, because I do go through all of these questions after the show. And if you have the question, likely others do too. And that's really where I get all of the questions and content, so I can make videos for all of you on all of the social media channels answering these questions, even if we couldn't get to all of them today. All right. I hope everyone has a wonderful rest of the week. Be sure to check out our free resource center at immigrationforcouples.com. Take care, everyone. It was great to be with you. Bye.